barbecue capital of the world and home of Elvis Presley. Please welcome your co-host, Bob Furniss.
A contact center job either finds you in a moment of need,
right,
or you find it in a moment of need, right? I need a job, and or it could be that I'm working an opportunity in a contact center.
And from the tornado capital of the world, home of the Oklahoma Sooners, here's your co-host, Tenumah.
Welcome to the show. I am your co-host, Amos, and I have got Bob with me. Bob, are you still with me?
Morning, Moss. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. We're getting this video thing. I've seen your face every Friday morning. It's getting better.
It's a great way to start a weekend, isn't it? Seeing my face.
Let's jump right in. So top of mind for me, it seems like this, calling it matchmaking in the contact center. So this idea of, trying to get the right customer with the right agents. Different companies are doing it in different ways. They're using past experience. They're doing that, trying to sort of match this. What's your thinking on this? It's not that new, but I'm seeing it more and more and more. What's your thinking on it, and what advice do you have for folks on doing this?
First of all, I'm always amazed at the words that you come up with, because I've heard it called skill-based routing. I've heard it call it, skill-based queuing. You called it matchmaking. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set up this new software company, and whenever you're ready to talk with a customer service rep, their face is gonna pop up, and you're gonna go either swipe right or swipe left to decide whether or not you want that person to help you or not. And there'll be a little box that says what their rating is. So if they're only a 4, now I only want to talk to a 5. Is that what you're talking about here, or what's going on?
Some version of that. Taking it to a 10.
So the reality is, it's not new. It's new with more information, right? Because we've got access to all this data that we either didn't have or we didn't have accessible the way we do today. And so if I can find out that what you're asking about is a refund on something that was broken, that
right,
takes a particular type of process, because I know who you are, I know you've tweeted me, I know that you're unhappy, I know these things about you. If I can take that, either using AI or using some form to be able to say, this is the right agent to take care of that, then why wouldn't I, right?
Yeah.
But what I do know is you gotta let the customer data drive it. It's not about trying to find the internal data. It's about letting the customer data drive it.
Yeah, I've seen, people optimize. Well, I guess I would say, what are you optimizing for? I've seen organizations use this to optimize for, call it the experience management. So I'm trying to optimize for my NPS score, whatever it is I'm doing. I've seen people try to optimize for sales. So I think once you sort of figure that out, the other exciting part of this that has also evolved over the last few years using AI and to get to the data is this whole, you can also just use data around personality, right? So you can inject that. So to Bob's point, I think what's really changed is we now have hundreds of data points. It's figuring out which ones make sense for what you are trying to optimize. What then are you trying to do? So I'm biased towards what Bob's saying, which is use the customer data, optimize for the things that are important for the customer, not just optimizing so that you can sell one more widget. That will come if you make the customer feel better about the experience. But related to our conversation last week, Bob, I think this is an example of at least technology paying some love to the human part of the experience. So, as I was looking at this, I was thinking, okay, maybe this is tech putting a nod to improving the last part of the experience, the human to human part.
Well, and much like everything else that has anything to do with AI, and especially the kinds of where you're using data or you're using knowledge or you're updating, you're using information about the agent, you can't set it and walk away from it.
Right.
You got to set it and then tweak it, and then tweak it again. And so your process, your upfront process should have a plan of how we're going to continue to tweak it. How are we going to continue to make this work better based on either new data or new information about the agents? And then lastly, this is a good opportunity also to understand where you're not being successful so you can train better, right? If you're not getting good results from your program, or you're getting good results in some areas but not in others, what are you missing from training and onboarding your agent?
And in addition to that deal, talk a little bit about the workforce management part of this, because I've seen plenty of clients ignore that, right? In other words, if you want to start doing this matchmaking, as we call it, then you may end up in a place where some agents are working harder than others, some are not working at all. Talk a little bit about being thoughtful about the workforce management and balancing of this.
Well, now you're talking about it getting hard, right? Now you're talking about we've said we're trying to help the customer, but we're making it harder on the agents. So yes. Again, you've got to tweak those things. You've got to understand that Sarah and that team is doing a really good job in one area. So everything's being transferred to them, which means, why is that? How do I upgrade John's area or John's team to be able to do the same thing? But you've got to look at it through multiple lenses to make it work correctly. And one option that's gotten much better than press 1 for this or 2 for this or 3 for this is to through speech recognition, I can have the agent, the customer answer questions. Right. That helps me make that decision also. Right. So I can easily make that happen. But if you're really about the customer experience, don't transfer me to the wrong place. Right. Because we all know what that feels like. Well, hold on, Mr. Furniss, let me get you to the right place. Well, I just told you what my problem was, and now I'm telling you again, and now I'm in the wrong place. Right. So it's a lot of work, right?
It is. It is. Yeah.
It reminds me of knowledge. It reminds me of bots. It's just all a lot of work on the back end that you got to think through how you're going to make that happen.
Yeah, because I've seen clients do it where they anger their best agents. So they just start routing all the calls to their best agents, and they're going, wait a second, my reward for being... So yeah, there's plenty of things to think.
If you do really well, we'll reward you with more work. That's all.
Exactly. No break. And those of you who suck, you don't have to do anything. You just kick into, so you do have to be very thoughtful. So let me throw some wild things. Today's not that bad. So there was a customer in the UK so mad at British Airways that not only did he do the thing you do so well, which is use Twitter as a channel, right? Like, so he tweets about that, but he takes the Bob's bullying of customers to get his weight in. And he puts it on steroids. He promotes the tweet, so he pays Twitter to promote the tweet so that it'll, like, the level of
how effective must that be? So how many tweets did he get? How many?
74,000 interactions. Comments.
74,000 interactions.
Because he has like a new Twitter account or whatever. So he just and so of course it works. So I just. First, we just want to hear your reaction. I was reading that, and I was thinking of you because I follow you, obviously, and I see you occasionally use your power of Twitter.
Yeah, but I also use my power for Twitter for good. So you have to admit, if I have a good experience on Delta,
that's true.
On American, I'll go, hey, this person was awesome.
That is true. You're not just complaining. But what do you think?
This is just a new way to look at it, because it must have been, I'll have to go back and look. It must have been 12, 13 years ago, the story about the guy with United Airlines that did a video. He did a video. He was in a band, and he did United
Bricks Guitars.
Guitars. I looked him up the other day. I was talking to somebody else about this. 21 million times that video has been watched. 21 million.
Oh my God.
And if you pay attention, if you listen to his video, I mean his interview, he actually talked to 2 or 3 different people at United trying to fix his problem. And his problem was nobody cared, right? It wasn't, and that's typically the case. So I don't know what the deal was with the guy at British Airways, but okay, so now that's going to be the new thing. I'll have to think about whether or not I want to pay it.
Like you can tell it's not about the credit. It's like, I am just so angry.
Right.
I want the world to know that you guys are.
Did you read? I didn't read the story you're talking about. Did they fix his problem?
Oh, of course they did. Like once this thing is blowing up, now they're giving him me and everything he's asked, instead of just taking care of him from. I mean, of course, like the whole world ended. I'm in the story. He's on the news. I mean, the whole world. There are airlines taking the hits. You know, it's ridiculous. Let's go to questions. This one's an odd one. She says she's losing agents because they're bored and they're not stimulated. Like she's
losing agents because they're bored.
Yep.
Maybe she's hiring overqualified people.
Hire worse agents is Bob's.
I can't wait for her. I can't wait for you to hear what the comment after.
Yeah, that's your answer. We'll move on.
No, that's not my answer. That's not my answer. That was my smart Bob answer. You need to find ways to engage people differently. So think about that for just a moment. I've got people that are bored because they don't have work because it's our slow period. Two ideas come to mind. An outbound phone call for 2 reasons. Talk to your customers and say, what are we doing well and what are we not doing well? I've got an agent who's busy, who's not busy. Talk to your customers. Ask that question. And then how about a phone call that just says thank you for being a customer? How unusual would that feel as a customer that you're talking? And think about the positive influence that it would have on the agent, right? Tell us. I just called Mr. Smith to say you've been a customer of ours for 3 years. We just want to thank you, and if there's anything we can do for you. Now, you have to follow up, but wow, I don't know that I've ever had anyone ask that question. Man, I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, I mean, and I think in part because most organizations, I used to work in a very seasonal business. We were in the flower business, but most organizations just don't keep the staff around, right? So I think.
What did you do when you were down, when you were slower? Like, you can't just have.
Yeah. So
for one thing, you can have people go home. But
no. So that's when we did our projects. So all the process improvement, all the system improvements. So we just took those agents, and everyone had different jobs in the summer. It was when it was less busy for us, right? So all the floral holidays are not in the summer. So in the summer, that's when they all worked on projects. So someone who takes phone calls today is designing our new CRM. He or she is out, doing QA, doing all the things, because during our peaks, we didn't touch any of the systems. So we put them to work in other ways. So I think in your deal as well, Bob's suggestions about reaching out to customers or their projects, give them other things to do that's all around making their jobs easier and helping the customer. That will keep them engaged until, your busy season comes. So So we got to wrap up. Let's talk about words of wisdom. What advice, words of wisdom, or things do you have for folks this week?
So I got to spend an hour on a call this week where our CEO interviewed Brene Brown.
I love her.
Can she be any more spot on for things that you're already doing, validation for things that you know you should be doing that you're not doing, and to look at things differently? So one of the things she said was, and I forgot to look it up. I think she's got a book called Strong Back, Soft Front, Wild Heart. And that concept of the kind of leader you want to be. You want to be able to take feedback. You want to be able to have a strong back, have a presence. You want to have a soft front in that you want to be vulnerable, and you want to be able to love the people that you work with and to love the things that you do. You need to be vulnerable about the people. And then you want to have a wild heart that you're not afraid to do things that are out of the ordinary. She said all the good, the next time you're in a situation, all of the good answers are gone. They've already been tried. I mean, all the easy answers are gone. Sorry. All the easy answers are gone. So try something new, try something hard. So I just, my recommendation would be those, but also, so if you don't know who Brene Brown is, go to YouTube, search on Brene Brown, watch the TED Talk on vulnerability. It's been seen more than is top 5. Go spend some time this weekend with Brene Brown, because you'll come back on Monday morning looking at things differently.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, I think I'll stay on your line and just say, I read and saw somewhere empathy is a skill. And to what Bob said, that changed my perspective. There was a time in my life when I would say, I can't teach you to be a decent human being, and my perspective has completely changed. I think that people can learn those things, even if it doesn't come naturally to them. So yeah, take Bob on Brene Brown. I mean, I consume anything. If any of her stuff hits my desk, I'm all over it. So it's a great advice. Bob, great show.
Good show, man.
Thanks for doing this. And you folks out there, please subscribe. Keep the questions coming, and we will
keep those questions coming. Keep those questions coming.
Absolutely. We'll be back next week.
Thanks.
We want to thank you for joining us on this episode of the Contact Center Show. If you would like to join the conversation, please visit us at contactcenter.tv. That is Contact Center, all one word, .tv. Or you can simply subscribe wherever you get your podcast. This has been a Beyond production.